Some ruins in Skyrim are remembered with reverence, others with fear. But Ilinalta's Deep, once a mighty fort along the banks of Lake Ilinalta, is barely remembered at all. It's not marked as significant by the Empire. No bards sing of its fall, no guard really speaks of its name. And yet it's still here, sunken into the muddy western shoreline of the lake, choked with moss and rot, filled with magic that no longer follows rules. You don't hear about Ilinalta's Deep until you're really sent there, or until you do the Black Star quest. Not by the Empire and not by a mage, but by a bartender. And when you step through its broken archway, you realise why everyone stopped talking about it. Because this place was never abandoned, it was erased. From the outside, Ilinalta's Deep looks like a crumbled watchtower, barely distinguishable from the rocky banks around it. The entrance is narrow, half submerged in the wet earth of Lake Ilinalta's edge. But this wasn't always a ruin. Ilinalta's Deep was once part of a larger complex, possibly Fort Ilinalta, that kept watch over the lake, securing trade routes and deterring banditry. Some speculate it was a military outpost, or even a research annex tied to the College of Whispers. But now all that's left is the drowned skeletons of a stronghold, damp stone, collapsed ceilings, and corridors filled with necrotic echoes. Inside things move, but they aren't necessarily alive. Ilinalta's Deep is no ordinary dungeon. From the moment you step inside, it's clear the place has been repurposed. The waterlogged halls are strewn with bones, rusted weapons and ritual components, soul gems, burned candles, broken slaves. The floors drip, the walls weep, every room has signs of magical corruption, from half-decayed skeletons to strange altar setups. And as you go deeper, you stop wondering who caused the ruin, and you start wondering what it was turned into. Because Ilinalta's Deep didn't just fall into decay, it was desecrated. At the centre of the Ilinalta Deep mystery is one man, Malyn Varen. Once a respected enchanter at the College of Winterhold, Malyn grew obsessed with soul trapping, particularly the idea of using Azura's Star, a reusable soul gem for the mortal souls. This was forbidden, not just by the college, but by the Daedric prince Azura himself. And when he was expelled, Malyn fled to Ilinalta's Deep with a handful of loyal students, or victims depending on your perspective. There he continued his experiments, using Azura's artifact to trap human souls and to extend his own life. But it didn't save him at all. When the player enters Ilinalta's Deep during the Black Star quest, they don't find a living mage. They find a ruin haunted by what Malyn left behind. The enemies within Ilinalta's Deep aren't just skeletons and necromancers. They're the echoes of people who came here with Malyn. Some are named in dialogue, some are hinted at through notes or skeletal arrangements. The necromancers you fight in the deeper chambers likely include his former apprentices. One even says aloud, "This is what you wanted, isn't it, Malyn?" just before dying at your hands. And deeper still, you find Malyn's corpse, desecrated yet still active through the lingering magic of the star. His spirit, or what remains of it, now resides inside the corrupted Daedric artifact, the Black Star, still whispering and still lingering. Ilinalta's Deep didn't just bury his body, it became his echo chamber. Ilinalta's Deep is not like most dungeons in Skyrim. It's not Dweematech filled, it's not a Nord barrow, it's not tied to a major city or questline beyond the Black Star, but it breathes. The layout is strangely non-linear, full of flooded staircases, collapsed floors, and sideways architecture. It feels more like an organism than a building, like you're inside something rotting from the inside to the out. There are strange magical circles, unexplained bone piles, and at one point a floating corpse in a side room, completely unreachable, just there, bobbing silently in a shaft of moonlight. It's not design, it's rather intent. You're meant to feel watched, because something in here never really left. For all its mystery, Ilinalta's Deep is only briefly acknowledged by the people who should care the most, the College of Winterhold. Only Nalakar, a former college member living in Winterhold's Inn, speaks of Malin. Even then, it's in whispers, and the college itself says nothing. No quest sends you to investigate the site other than the Black Star quest. No teacher warns about Malin's path. No student remembers the ruin by name other than Nalakar, which leads to an unsettling possibility. They know. They clearly know what Malin did. They know where he went, and they know what happened. And they chose to seal the memory rather than face the shame. Water plays a constant role in Ilinalta's Deep. It trickles from the ceiling, it covers the lower chambers, it laps at the corpses. There's something quite symbolic here, an idea that water buries, but never really purifies. Malin tried to escape death. He hid in a place already half sunk, thinking he could outlast morality. Instead, he ended up being a part of it. And the water didn't wash away, did it? It preserved it, just like the star did. At the heart of this dungeon is a philosophical horror, not just necromancy, but soul manipulation. Malin believed that souls could be bent, captured, reused. Azura's star, a holy artifact, was meant to trap only souls of lesser beings, ethically neutral. Malin corrupted it, trying to get it to accept black souls, one that accepts mortal souls, sentient beings. People, basically. When you retrieve the artifact, you're forced to choose to return it to Azura and it becomes a restored, holy relic, or give it to Nalakar and it remains dark, usable and powerful. But no matter your choice, you can't undo what happened. The damage is done, and Ilinalta's Deep doesn't offer redemption, just history and silence. The last rooms of Ilinalta's Deep feel especially strange. You hear movement, you see lights flicker in unnatural ways. You open doors that shouldn't be unlocked. And maybe that's the final horror of this place. It doesn't just pull you in, it makes you a part of it. You walk out of Ilinalta's Deep with the star in your hands. The water behind you is still. No one will come to clean the ruin. No one will speak Malin's name ever again. No necromancer will raise it again until someone else finds it. But Ilinalta doesn't forget. The lake swallows stories, as I've said before. The fort beneath it preserves them. And when someone else comes seeking power, or answers, or silence, the door will still be open, and the fort will still be waiting. Skyrim is a land defined by its ruins, crumbling keeps, abandoned towers, and ancient tombs left behind by forgotten civilizations. Yet among the many remnants of its violent history, few stand as ominously alive as Broken Tower Redoubt, a place that refuses to fade into memory. Located west of Markarth in the Reach, this towering fortress remains one of the most heavily fortified and fiercely demanded strongholds in all of Skyrim. At first glance, it appears to be another Nordic ruin, collapsed walls, overgrown stone, and the faint sound of wind echoing through the empty halls. But step closer and the illusion of decay fades. Inside, the place is not abandoned at all. It is crawling with Forsworn, the wild, defiant warriors of the Reach who have reclaimed this fortress as their own. Broken Tower is a paradox, a ruin that is alive, a fortress that should have fallen, but never did. It stands as both a relic of Skyrim's ancient wars and a living reminder of its ongoing ones. Guarded by magic, steel, and fanatic willpower, it is the kind of place even seasoned adventurers approach with hesitation. This is the story of Broken Tower Redoubt, the most guarded fort in all of Skyrim, where stone and blood have fused together in eternal defiance. The Reach is not like the rest of Skyrim. Its red cliffs and jagged stone valleys hold memories older than the Nords themselves. It's a land of resistance, one that refuses to bow to outsiders, be they Imperial or Nordic. Broken Tower Redoubt embodies that spirit perfectly. Once a proud Nordic fortress, it was meant to guard the western approaches to Markarth. Its towers were positioned to spot intruders from miles away, its walls built thick enough to withstand siege. But as centuries passed and the power of the Empire shifted, the fort fell into ruin. When the Forsworn rose to reclaim their ancestral lands, they saw in this broken citadel an opportunity, a symbol. To the Forsworn, Broken Tower Redoubt is not merely a base, it's a sanctuary, a command post, and a testament to their undying resistance against the Nords and the Empire. From here, they launch raids, coordinate attacks. It's one of the most important nodes in their vast, hidden network of redoubts across the Reach. For outsiders, it's simply another Forsworn nest. But to those who understand its history, Broken Tower is the heart of the rebellion, the stone pulse that keeps the Forsworn dream alive. The first thing that strikes you about Broken Tower Redoubt is its structure. It does not resemble a ruin resigned to time. Despite the name Broken Tower, the fortress is remarkably intact. Its main tower still rises, casting long shadows across the crags of the Reach. The walls are scarred, yes, but they stand. The bridges remain strong. The staircases are carved with deliberate precision. This is not an accident. The Forsworn have painstakingly rebuilt the old Nordic fortifications. Using the bones of their enemies and the tools of their ancestors, they have transformed the ruins into a living citadel once more. Look closely and you'll see wooden barricades reinforcing ancient gates, spiked traps built from salvaged weapons, and Forsworn totems marking the territory. Every corridor, every room, every ledge is patrolled or trapped. The fort is designed not for beauty, but for survival. Even its position is strategic, perched high on a ridge overlooking the Karth River Valley, giving its defenders an unmatched vantage point. Any army approaching would be seen long before they reach its walls. It is, in every sense, a fortress reborn through sheer will and fanaticism. The Forsworn are not known for mercy, and Broken Tower Redoubt is one of their most brutal strongholds. Inside its walls, the atmosphere is not that of a military base. It's a cultish enclave, humming with hatred and ritual. The Forsworn who guard the fort are some of the most battle-hardened warriors in the Reach. They wield a mix of savage weaponry and primitive magic. Their bodies painted with runes and blood, their leader, often a Forsworn Briarheart, is a terrifying hybrid of man and spirit. Their hearts replaced by cursed stones through ancient druidic rituals. To reach the top of Broken Tower Redoubt, one must face wave after wave of these zealots, archers positioned on ledges, mages behind barricades, and warriors ready to charge without hesitation. Every guard in this fort is willing to die, not out of duty, but out of faith. They believe they are reclaiming their land from centuries of oppression, and that gives them strength beyond reason. It's what makes this fort more dangerous than even imperial strongholds. It's defended not by soldiers following orders, but by believers willing to die for a cause. One of the most chilling aspects of this place lies not in its defences, but in its prison. Deep within its stone chambers, past the barricades and fires, lies a cell holding imperial captives. These prisoners are not treated as soldiers of war, they are trophies, sacrifices, or tools of intimidation. Their screams echo faintly through the halls, a reminder that this is not just a military fort, it's a place of vengeance. The Forsworn use these captives as symbols of their power, proof that they can strike against the Empire and survive. Some rumours even suggest that the Forsworn perform blood rituals within the depths of the fort, offering their captives to the old gods of the Reach. Whether or not that's true, one cannot deny the sense of unease that fills the air, the smell of blood and incense, the flickering torches and the rhythmic chanting. It all adds to the fort's aura of dread. In Broken Tower Redoubt, cruelty and conviction blend until they are indistinguishable. Getting to this place is an ordeal in itself. The roads leading to it are treacherous, narrow, twisting paths that snake through rocky ravines, patrolled by wild beasts and forsworn scouts. Even before reaching the gates, travellers are likely to be ambushed. Once inside, the true gauntlet begins. The entrance is guarded by archers perched on elevated platforms, with traps lining the approach. Step wrong and a barrage of arrows or a collapsing bridge greets you. The Forsworn have designed the fort's layout to funnel invaders into choke points, where they can be overwhelmed with minimal loss. Ascending through the fort feels like climbing through layers of history, each room filled with remnants of the old Nordic garrison, now repurposed with savage ingenuity. Ancient tables serve as altars, training areas are covered in bones, and maps of the Reach have been carved directly into the stone walls. By the time one reaches the upper tower, it's clear that Broken Tower Redoubt isn't just defended, it's alive. The entire structure seems to breathe hostility, every stone whispering of the countless bloodshed it has witnessed. From the top of this place, the view is breathtaking and terrifying at the same time. You can see for miles the peaks of the mountains, the flowing Karth River, and the distant spires of Markarth itself. For the Forsworn, this vantage point is priceless. It allows them to monitor Imperial patrols, Stormcloak movements, and any unwelcome travellers. Many raids launched against the Western Hold begin with signals from this tower. A torch lit, a horn sounded, or a raven released into the Crimson Dawn. The fort is both a fortress and a sentinel. It watches, it waits, and when the time comes, it strikes. This constant vigilance has earned its reputation among both Imperial soldiers and travellers as one of the most dangerous places in Skyrim. Even seasoned adventurers approach with caution, knowing that every inch of the tower is likely observed by a hidden Forsworn archer. For all of its savagery, Broken Tower is also a place of tragedy. The Forsworn who guard it are not monsters by birth. They are the descendants of the original Reachmen, the ancient inhabitants of the region long before the Nords arrived. They fight not out of greed, but out of desperation, to reclaim what was stolen from them generations ago. To them, Broken Tower is sacred ground. Every stone represents their ancestors' suffering. Every arrow fired from its walls is vengeance for centuries of betrayal. This context turns the fort's brutality into something more complex. It's not merely guarded by zealots, it's haunted by history. The most disturbing part of Broken Tower isn't its bloodshed, but its reason. The Forsworn guard it not just with weapons, but with memory, with rage, and sorrow. In that sense, it's not only the most guarded fort in Skyrim, it's also the most mourned. There are ruins across Skyrim, broken forts, fallen watchtowers, crumbling Nord barrows. But few carry the same quiet tragedy as Fort Snowhawk. Situated between Morthal and the western marshes, it's easy to miss. Its walls are half swallowed by swamp fog and time. At first glance, it's just another military ruin, occupied by bandits or necromancers depending on when the player stumbles upon it. But beneath those stone walls lies something older and far stranger. The ghost of a city that once stood here, one of Skyrim's forgotten settlements. In the Elder Scrolls arena, Snowhawk was no mere outpost. It was a full city, bustling, walled, and proud, a stronghold in the Reach before the world forgot it. Yet by the time of Skyrim, 2 eras later, the city has vanished entirely, its name preserved only in the decaying ruin of a fort. No citizens remain, no merchants, no guards, not even a single house. This is the story of the city that disappeared, and of the fort that remains to remember it. Fort Snowhawk sits in a desolate patch of Jarlmarch, a region dominated by mist, mud, and decay. To its east lies Morthal, one of Skyrim's smallest and eeriest towns, itself built on a swampland and half-forgotten legends. To the west rise the jagged peaks that border the Reach. Between them stands the fort, crumbling and silent. Its placement is strategic, but odd. The fort commands no road, guards no mine, and overlooks no trade route. Most forts in Skyrim serve a clear purpose. Fort Amol near Windhelm protects the road to Eastmarch, while Fort Greenwall guards the Rift's northern border. But Snowhawk? It watched over nothing. It's isolated, sunken into marshland that seems to devour it year by year. And that's what makes it so unsettling. The landscape itself feels complicit in its disappearance, as though the earth wanted to erase it. The mist rises, the grass grows over the stone, and what was once a proud city fades into something no one remembers. To understand the curiosity of Fort Snowhawk, you must return to the Elder Scrolls Arena. In that game, the very first in the series, Snowhawk was a functioning city-state, one of several regional powers within Skyrim. Alongside Winterhold, Falkreath, and Solitude, it stood as a bastion of civilization in the wild north. Its ruler, the King of Snowhawk, governed from sturdy walls, and its people were as hardy as any in the province. But by the 4th era, the name survives only as an echo. The city has fallen off maps, absent even from the mouths of Skyrim's oldest historians. No one in Morthal mentions it, no bard sings of it. It is as though the world itself decided to forget. This disappearance isn't unique in Tamrielic history. Empires rise and fall constantly. But Snowhawk's erasure feels deliberate. Cities decay, yes, they do all the time. But names persist. The ruins of Helgen remain on the lips of travellers. The ghosts of Labyrinthian are remembered by mages, and even Sarthal, destroyed thousands of years ago, lives on in story. Snowhawk, however, is gone. What could erase a city so thoroughly that even its name becomes just a fort's afterthought? Fort Snowhawk is the only surviving trace, a military ruin that still bears the name of its ancestors. It is a relic built on older bones, likely constructed over the ruins of the original city's walls. Its architecture, however, tells a different story. It is imperial in style, with square battlements, iron gates, and arched corridors. That means it was rebuilt, likely during the late 3rd era, after the fall of the actual old Snowhawk. So what stands today is not the city, but a replacement. A fort built to occupy the same ground, perhaps because the land held strategic or symbolic importance. Yet the Imperial engineers could not erase what came before. When you walk through its ruined halls, the layout feels strange. Too sprawling for a simple fort, too enclosed for a city. There's a sense that the stones themselves remember more than they should. And that leads to the central mystery. Why was Snowhawk reduced to this single ruin? And why does no one speak of it anymore? Among fans and lore scholars, several theories attempt to explain Snowhawk's disappearance. None are official, but each feel disturbingly plausible. One theory claims plague, that disease swept through the city, perhaps carried by the swamp waters or brought by travellers from the Reach. The marshland around Fort Snowhawk is known for sickness. Morthal's inhabitants even mention bog fever and strange ailments that take root in damp air. Perhaps the city was abandoned when it became unlivable, its people fleeing before disease claimed them all. Another theory suggests war. The Second Era saw Skyrim torn apart by civil conflicts, and Snowhawk, located between territories claimed by the Reachmen and the Nordic Jarls, may have been a casualty of those wars. Fort Snowhawk's later Imperial reconstruction does support this. It might have been built atop ruins left by some long-forgotten siege. The most haunting theory, however, is magic. Some whisper that Snowhawk fell to necromancy, that its last days were marked by experiments too dangerous to control. And when the Dragonborn explores Fort Snowhawk in Skyrim, it's crawling with necromancers. The air hums with black energy, and corpses line the halls. What if they didn't invade the fort? What if they just returned to it, reclaiming the site of some ancient atrocity? As I've said, when the player first encounters Fort Snowhawk, it is usually under the control of necromancers, a fitting if eerie fate. The halls are filled with robed mages raising skeletons and their rituals through the dark. There is something chillingly appropriate about this occupation. The necromancers bring death to a place already buried by history. But what's more intriguing is the implication that they were drawn here. Skyrim is full of ruins, yet these mages choose Fort Snowhawk. Why? Perhaps because the land itself remembers death. Perhaps the city's fall was not natural, but magical. A blight of sorcery that still taints the soil. The necromancer's presence transforms the fort into a tomb within a tomb. You're not just clearing out bandits, you're disturbing something that was already dead twice over, once as a city and once as a fort. It is as if Snowhawk cannot stop dying. Perhaps the strangest part of Snowhawk's story is not its fall, but its absence from Skyrim's culture. No one remembers it. You can ask scholars, guards, or jarls, no one will speak of its name. Even the College of Winterhold, which preserves ancient records, makes no mention of it. In a world where everything leaves ruins and rumours, Snowhawk leaves silence. This silence is what turns the mystery from historical to existential. Snowhawk wasn't merely destroyed, it was forgotten, and in Tamriel, forgetfulness is kind of a death. When names vanish, spirits fade. When no one remembers, history itself dissolves. One might imagine that Snowhawk's ghosts still wander the marshes, watching over the ruined fort, desperate to be remembered, trapped between existence and oblivion. Morthal lies only a short walk from Fort Snowhawk, and its people speak often of strange lights and noises in the marsh. Yet they never mention Snowhawk at all. It's as though an unspoken agreement keeps them from acknowledging it. Some players theorise that Morthal itself may have been born from Snowhawk survivors, those few who fled the city before it fell and resettled nearby on safer ground. It would explain the town's reclusive nature, its fascination with the dead, and its deep-rooted mistrust of outsiders. Even the town's jarl, Ravencrone, speaks like a woman haunted by memories she doesn't fully understand. If that theory is true, then Morthal isn't merely a strange swamp town. It's the shadow of a tragedy, a remnant of a city that used to be. The ruins of Fort Snowhawk still stand, lonely and unremarked on, visited only by adventurers on their way to Morthal or soldiers sent to die for a war they barely understand. Yet beneath its foundations lies the memory of something greater, a city erased by time, a name nearly lost. Snowhawk once stood as a proud city-state, a beacon in the Reach. Now it exists only as whispers in fan theories and the faint hum of necromantic rituals echoing through the broken halls. It is a city that lives only in absence, the missing city of Skyrim, and in that absence lies its strange immortality. For though no one remembers Snowhawk, the mystery of its vanishing ensures it will never be completely forgotten again. Everyone in Skyrim knows about the many ancient ruins that can be found on the map. They sit atop mountains half buried in snow. They cling to cliff edges, hiding behind waterfalls. They wait in silence long after people who built them are dust. Some of these ruins are tied to quests. Some offer rewards. Some reveal clear history. But then there are others, places that exist without some kind of clear explanation, that kind of whisper rather than speak, that reward your curiosity not with treasures, but with questions. These are the places that leave you unsettled, that feel like they shouldn't have been uncovered, or like they're still waiting for something, and some are more mysterious than others. From the outside, Kagranzel seems like a small Dwemer ruin in a big building, but inside it becomes something else entirely. At first, it's quiet, a single room. In the centre, a glowing orb floats above a pedestal. You're told absolutely nothing. There are no enemies, no journals, just the sound of gears and the hum of Dwemer magic. However, surrounding the orb are 3 dead bandits who have clearly had a tough time with it. But if you activate the orb, it pulses. Then the lights go dark, and the floor vanishes beneath you. Suddenly you're falling hundreds of feet into a massive hidden cavern deep below the mountains. An underground lake stretches out before you, and on the far banks, Falmer wait. It's a trap. But why? The Elder Scrolls Online may offer a clue. In this, Kagranzal appears again, and the lore there suggests it was a Dwemer observatory constructed to detect incoming threats through visual and sonic projection. The glowing orb? A possible remnant of that mechanism. A magical bait system designed to lure intruders and send them plummeting into a kill zone. The Falmer didn't build this, but they found it. And now they live there, infesting the caverns like roaches in a collapsed vault. The Dwemer are long gone, but their trap still works. Yungol Barrow isn't a quest destination, unless you're specifically sent for Yungol's helmet. But once you enter, the game does change. Almost immediately, you're followed by blue glowing orbs. They flicker behind pillars, drift beside your character, follow you without explanation. They never attack, they never speak, they're just there. Some players can even miss them entirely. Others say they only appear under specific conditions. The game doesn't really log them, no enemies are tied to them, and even when you reach the end, facing Yungol's skeletal remains, they simply vanish. So what are they? The best clue lies in a book, Yungol and the Sea Ghosts. It describes the son of Yungol perishing on a sea voyage, dragged to the ocean floor by spectral forces. The glowing lights may be the spirit of his crew, or some form of ancient Nord death guardians. Yungol's tomb is protected by something. We just don't know what. However, no priest stands to watch, no dragger hold the gate, only these lights. Even though some say they're sea ghosts, some also say they're memories. And that makes them one of Skyrim's most elegant mysteries. Most dungeons in Skyrim have a door, but the Sightless Pit has a drop, and a massive one for that matter. Once you enter, you fall. There's no way back. You spiral down through dark Falmer tunnels, winding into the earth in a helix of rot and ice. But the name is fitting for what it's worth. It does feel designed to disorient and trap. The architecture becomes more twisted the deeper you go. Stone becomes fungus. Hallways turn into ribcage-like corridors. The final chamber is the Temple of Scrib, a cathedral of green mist and curved monuments that look almost biological. Falmer patrol here like priests, not guards. But there's no named boss, no central artifact, just tension and questions. Now the word scrib is never explained in-game, nor does it appear elsewhere in the lore. However, some players believe this was once a Falmer place of worship, devoted to the twisted legacy of their underground life. Others suggest the Dwemer built it as a cruel form of containment, a spiritual prison for the enslaved snow elves. There's not many journals, no voice lines at all, just the implication that the Falmer still remember what they lost. And at the bottom of that pit, in the temple no one speaks of, they might still believe in something. That's what makes the Sightless Pit so disturbing. It doesn't trap you with the enemies, it traps you with belief. The Labyrinthian ruin is huge, a sprawling complex of tombs, towers and arcane chambers, hidden in the snowy fields near Morthal. It was once known as Bromjinar, a first-era city that served as an early Nord school of magic, a precursor to the College of Winterhold. In its prime, this was a place of learning, ritual and magical theory. But something went wrong. Very wrong. During the quest, the Staff of Magnus, you're sent here to recover a legendary artifact. Along the way, you encounter ghosts, echoes of students and teachers who came here before. You hear them joke, then fear, then argue, and then die. They came to retrieve the Staff of Magnus as well, but found something far worse. Morokai, a dragon priest of terrifying power. sealed in a magical barrier powered by the students themselves. They chose imprisonment over destruction, and for centuries they succeed. There's little written record about Mordecai's past. No grand legend, no inscription, only the prison. That's what makes it so strange. They didn't just fight, they built a containment system strong enough to hold a being that predates written history. But why? Why this ruin? Why this staff? And why a city of mages whose name no one remembers? Labyrinthian doesn't really tell you, but the silence says enough. Some magic wasn't meant to be studied, and some ruins weren't meant to be reopened. Avincenzel is the kind of ruin that doesn't speak through enemies or books. It speaks through ghosts. As soon as you enter, you see the first one, a ghostly Argonian, walking with her old expedition crew. They speak, joke, plan. They're echoes of a doomed mission, visions of the past played out in real time. As you follow them through the ruin, their mood kind of shifts. Excitement turns into fear, trust fractures, and by the time you reach the final chamber, their voices are gone. The story connects to a quest involving the Dwemer lexicon, which from deepest fathoms begs you to return. She speaks in riddles, clearly touched by something the lexicon showed her. This artifact, possibly tied to Hermarchus Mora, seems to hold forbidden knowledge. And the further the expedition carried it, the worse things became. There's no boss, no villain, no treasure beyond the lexicon. But the walls themselves hum with an unseen presence. Was the lexicon cursed? Or did the Dwemer build Avincenzel to house something else? Something no one should ever carry? These places aren't just dungeons. They're questions. Unfinished thoughts left by developers who seem to know exactly how much to show, and exactly how much to keep hidden. They give you whispers, ghosts, orbs, rooms that feel older than the 9 divines, lore that spans into the Elder Scrolls Online, because not every mystery needs solving. Sometimes it's more powerful when it's just there. Skyrim is a land built on myth, power, and conflict. Its mountains are tall, its holds proud, and its ruins ancient. But beneath its snow-covered peaks and stone cities lies a darker world, a world of secret rituals, forgotten gods, and the remnants of people who have never truly let go of their old forbidden faiths. Among these shadowed places, none are quite as unsettling as Wolfskull Cave. Hidden in the cliffs west of Solitude, Wolfskull Cave is more than just another dungeon. It's a wound in the world, a reminder that even the proud and orderly imperial capital is built on something twisted and restless. Inside, necromancers gather, chanting in the dark, their voices echoing through the hollow bones of the earth. Their goal? To bring back Potema Septim, the Wolf Queen of Solitude. A woman so vile, so consumed by ambition and death, that even in death she refused to stay gone. To understand why Wolfskull Cave is so disturbing, one must first understand the figure whose legacy it preserves. Potema Septim, the Wolf Queen. Potema was not merely an evil ruler. She was a force of nature, a storm in human form. The daughter of Pelagius II and the aunt of the Emperor Uriel Septim III, she manipulated the very empire from within, sowing chaos in pursuit of power. Her reign of influence was one of deceit, war, and black sorcery. Even in death, her name lingered like a curse, whispered through the catacombs of Solitude. The legends say she could speak to the dead. Others claim she fed on their souls. When she finally died, her body was entombed deep beneath Solitude. But her spirit, her will, refused to fade. Centuries later, necromancers sought to bring her back, choosing Wolfskull Cave as the place of her resurrection. The choice was deliberate. This cave, carved into the bones of an ancient hill, feels alive. The walls breathe, the air hums with magic, and every echo sounds like a whisper. It's a place where death never truly rests. What makes Wolf Skull Cave so unsettling isn't what happens inside, it's where it is. The cave sits just west of Solitude, the capital of Skyrim, a city ruled by imperial authority, guarded by soldiers and seen as a beacon of order and civilization. Yet mere minutes from its gates lies a pit of blasphemy, a necromantic cult openly conducting rituals to resurrect a centuries-old queen of evil. The proximity is disturbing. It suggests that darkness in Skyrim is not distant. It thrives right under the noses of the powerful. While nobles feast in the Blue Palace and merchants trade in Solitude Square, the dead are being awakened in the hills nearby. It's this contrast between civilization and corruption that makes Wolfskull Cave so haunting. It's not just a place of danger, it's a reminder that Skyrim's peace is fragile, its light barely holding back the shadows. When the Dragonborn enters Wolfskull Cave during the quest The Man Who Cried Wolf, they find something few players forget. Deep inside, a massive cavern opens, a chasm lit by blue magical fire. Necromancers stand on platforms carved from stone, chanting in unison, their voices weaving through the air like smoke. Lightning crackles, bones rattle, and in the center, above a pit of spectral energy, a ghostly figure begins to form. "Return, O Wolf Queen, return to us," they cry. This is the summoning of Potema, a ritual of resurrection so powerful it shakes the very cave itself. The player witnesses the spectral outline of her spirit, clawing her way back toward the mortal realm, her laugh echoing across the stone walls. Even when the Dragonborn disrupts the ritual, it's too late. The ritual succeeds partially. Potema returns as a restless spirit, her essence scattered across the crypts of Solitude. Unlike many of Skyrim's caves, Wolfskull Cave feels deliberate. It's not a mine nor a natural tunnel system. It does feel built, as though someone long ago carved it out with intention. The stone is unnaturally smooth in places, and certain chambers bear the marks of old rituals. Torches flicker blue, chains hang from the ceiling, ancient runes faintly glow when light passes over them. It's unclear whether the necromancers chose this cave for its seclusion or because it was already tainted. Some believe it was once a temple to Daedric forces, possibly Molag Bal or Namira. Others think Potema herself may have used it during her lifetime as a site of dark experiments. Whatever the truth, its architecture tells a story. This place was meant for worship, for sacrifice, and for secrecy. The deeper you go, the more it feels like the mountain itself wants to swallow you whole. Wolfskull Cave is filled with sound, whispers, wind, the hum of necromantic energy. But there's something else, something quieter, yet more disturbing. Presence. When walking through its corridors, players often describe feeling watched. The shadows seem thicker than they should ever be. The chanting doesn't always stop when you defeat the necromancers. Sometimes, even after the ritual ends, faint echoes of her laughter can still be heard. This isn't imagination, it's environmental storytelling. The designers of Skyrim created Wolfskull Cave to feel haunted. Even without ghosts or monsters, the atmosphere alone creates unease. The lighting is pale and sickly, the geometry is claustrophobic, funneling you ever downward. The air is filled with faint dust motes like ash. It's as if the cave itself resents your presence, as though you are trespassing in a sacred tomb that wants to remain undisturbed. Although the player stops the initial summoning in The Man Who Cried Wolf, Potema's resurrection cannot be undone. Later, during the quest The Wolf Queen Awakened, you must enter her catacombs beneath Solitude to finish what the necromancers began, to destroy what they revived. This narrative thread, however, always leads back to Wolfskull Cave. It's where it started. It's where the boundary between life and death was first perceived. What's chilling is that even though you cleanse Solitude of Potema's influence, Wolfskull Cave remains. The necromancers may be dead, but the energy lingers. The torches still burn. The cave never resets to normal wildlife like other dungeons. It remains forever marked as though the ritual carved a scar into the land itself. Wolf Skull Cave is no longer just a location. It's a symptom of something deeper, Skyrim's inability to let go of its past. Why Wolf Skull? The name itself carries weight. Wolves in Nordic mythology are creatures of death and inevitability. They represent the wild, the uncontainable, the devourer of the sun at the end of the world. To add skull to that image creates something doubly grim, a symbol of both savagery and mortality. The Wolf Queen herself embraced that symbol. Her followers often referred to her as the wolf among the sheep, the devourer of kings. In resurrecting her, the necromancers sought to awaken not just her power, but her spirit and her hunger. Thus, Wolf Skull Cave becomes a shrine not just to Potama, but to the concept of corruption itself. It's where the civilized world's mask slips, revealing the beast beneath. What truly makes Wolf Skull Cave disturbing is not just its lore, but its psychological weight. It's not filled with jump scares or overwhelming enemies. It's filled with implication. Everything about it suggests desecration. The bones piled high, the blood-stained altars, the ritual chambers echoing with phantom chants. Even when empty, the place feels alive, as though the walls remember the horrors committed within them. Skyrim has many dangerous dungeons, but few feel as morally wrong as Wolf Skull Cave. Here, death isn't just an accident of war or survival, a deliberate perversion of the natural order. That makes it one of the most disturbing locations in all of Skyrim, not because of monsters, but because of human evil. Wolf Skull Cave stands as one of Skyrim's most disturbing locations because it's not about what's alive, it's about what refuses to stay dead. Potama's laughter may have faded, her bones may have crumbled, but her spirit lingers in the darkness. The cave remains silent and waiting, like a wound that never quite closes. Skyrim is full of monsters, bandits and beasts, but only in Wolf Skull Cave does evil feel so human. And that is what makes it truly terrifying. Wolf Skull Cave is not just a place of death. It's a reminder that in Skyrim, some nightmares don't end, they endure. Between Whiterun's sprawling plains and the ancient stone paths that wind towards Windhelm stands a ruin so visible, so perfectly placed, that almost no one truly sees it. Travellers cross its bridge, bandits call it home. The Dragonborn has passed through it a dozen times, usually blade-drawn, gold purse lighter, eyes fixed on the horizon, and yet this place remains largely forgotten. It's a ruin that should mean something. A pair of crumbling stone towers split by a rushing river, a bridge strung between them like a wound stitched by time. It sits on one of Skyrim's most travelled roads, watching thousands of feet, hooves and wagon wheels pass below. But the towers don't appear in grand quests or epic battles. There are no divine relics here, no named villains, no mysteries to solve. These towers are not cursed nor sacred. It's ordinary. And that paradoxically makes it one of the strangest places in Skyrim, because in a world overflowing with meaning, Valheim towers exist without any. It's the ruin everyone walks past, the fortress that became invisible by being too familiar. Approach Valheim towers from the west and you'll first see the right band watchtower jutting from the cliffside. It's stone darkened by years of rain and wind. The bridge arcs gracefully across the White River, connecting it to its twin on the opposite bank. Together, they once formed a proud checkpoint, a gate that watched over trade and travel in the heart of Skyrim. But that was long ago. Now the towers have fallen into decay. The banners that once flew are gone, replaced by rough wooden spikes and makeshift barricades. Bandits dwell here, demanding tolls from passerbys, pitiful echoes of the guards who once held the post. When you encounter them, they demand gold for safe passage. You can pay, intimidate, or fight. No matter your choice, the towers remain unchanged. The bandits return days later, the cycle repeats, and the world moves on. That is the essence of Valheim Towers, frozen in perpetual irrelevance. In a game where every ruin seems to hold ancient secrets, Valheim Towers stands apart because it doesn't. There are no puzzle doors, no Dwemer gears, no ghostly voices calling out from walls. It is simply there. That's what makes it so powerful as a piece of environmental storytelling. Skyrim's world is filled with grandeur, Nordic crypts, dragon lairs, Daedric shrines. But the inclusion of something so plain, so unimportant, reveals something deeper about the land. Valheim Towers represents the ordinary life of Skyrim's people. The guards who once manned its battlements were not heroes. They were watchmen, soldiers, and toll-keepers. People whose work mattered only when it failed. Now their place has been taken by outlaws who mimic their role, collecting coin in mockery of war. It's a ruin that captures the collapse of civilization in microcosm. The current inhabitants of these towers are bandits, not marauders of legends or named foes with backstories, but generic outlaws who respawn endlessly. They guard the bridge, collect tolls, and die by the dozens. Yet even in their simplicity, they represent something tragic. Valheim Towers sits near Whiterun, one of the safest, most prosperous holds in Skyrim, and yet this ruin is filled with the desperate and the dispossessed. The bandits here are not scheming masterminds, they're refugees from a system that failed them. Skyrim's war, its famine, its chaos, all drive people to the sword. These bandits, in their own way, are the last guards of the towers, protecting not travellers, but their own survival. They maintain the illusion of authority, demanding a toll where once a real guard post stood. And no matter how many times they fall, new ones always take their place. That's what makes these towers haunting. It's a site where history repeats endlessly, each new generation of bandits rebuilding the same futile dream of control. The bridge itself is what gives these towers its strange power. It connects not only the two towers but also two regions of Skyrim, the fertile plains of Whiterun Hold and the rugged highlands leading towards Eastmarch. Crossing it feels symbolic, even if the game never says so. On one side lies safety and civilization, on the other danger and wilderness. And perched in the middle, like a liminal gate between the two, are the towers themselves. Perhaps that's why they were built here, to watch over the border between comfort and chaos. But time has eroded that distinction as well. The guards are gone, the tolls are unjust, and the bridge has become a place of transition, not just for travellers, but for meaning itself. Every player crosses it, few remember it. In a world filled with grand events, Valheim Towers becomes a metaphor for the things we stop noticing once they feel familiar. Beauty, history, even decay itself. If you ask Skyrim players about Valheim Towers, most will pause. They'll remember something vague. Isn't that the bridge with the bandits? Or, oh yeah, I think I passed that earlier on. That's what makes it fascinating. It's everywhere and nowhere. It's the first bandit ambush many new players face, a small challenge on the road from Riverwood to Whiterun. But as the Dragonborn's power grows, the tower fades into obscurity. By level 30, they're just scenery. And yet, for those who look closer, the towers capture something profound about Skyrim's storytelling. They are the embodiment of the world's forgotten middle spaces. Not ancient, not modern, not holy, not cursed, just there. That in itself is beautiful, because Skyrim's world needs its ruins of no consequence, its broken towers that watch the road silently. They remind players that not every story needs to be epic to be worth telling. Who built Valheim Towers? The game never tells us. The architecture suggests imperial design, orderly, symmetrical and functional. It might once have been a checkpoint for merchants or soldiers travelling between holds. But now there's no record, no note, no history book. This absence of information turns Valheim Towers into a blank page on which the player's imagination writes. You might picture guards stationed there long ago, standing in the cold, waiting for travellers who never came. Or perhaps it was once a proud outpost during Skyrim's early days, forgotten when the Empire's roads fell into disrepair. Whatever the truth, the silence is powerful. The tower's purpose was erased by time, and that erasure is their story. Valheim Towers may not hold quests of its own, but it quietly supports countless ones. Bandits who take up residence there may be connected to larger factions. Bounty notes lead you back to the site. Travellers from Whiterun pass by it on their way to join the Legion or the Stormcloaks. Even the Dragonborn's journey often intersects it, whether as a random skirmish or as the setting for a Radiant quest. In that sense, the tower functions as kind of a background stage for Skyrim's living world. They are always active, always occupied, always ready to be rediscovered. That makes them strangely vital. Without Valheim Towers, the world between Whiterun and Windhelm would feel emptier. Its existence gives life to the road. In the end, Valheim Towers isn't just the ruin everyone walks past, it's a mirror. It reflects how easily we, as players and people, overlook the ordinary, how quickly we move from one goal to the next, forgetting the beauty of what lies in between. Every bandit who dies here, every traveller who crosses its bridge, every player who barely glances up, all become part of its silent history. The towers don't seek attention, they don't demand reverence, they simply exist, patient and eternal. And maybe that's what makes them so powerful. Because in a world where everything tries to be legendary, Valheim Towers remains defiantly forgettable. A ruin that no one remembers, yet everyone has seen. In the rugged, frostbitten world of the Elder Scrolls Skyrim, gods and demons walk hand in hand. They are not always benevolent, nor are they entirely cruel. The lines between divinity and damnation are blurred, and no figure represents this duality more elegantly than Azura, the Daedric prince of dusk and dawn. She is a god of beauty, prophecy and balance, revered by some as a guardian of fate, cursed by others as a manipulator of mortals. Her name is whispered in reverence among the Dunmer, shunned by the Nords, spoken with curiosity by scholars and adventurers alike. Yet for all her divine grace, Azura's story in Skyrim is strangely quiet. Her temple lies in isolation on a mountain peak, tended by only one priestess. Her influence flickers like twilight itself, brief, beautiful, and fading. This is the curious case of Azura, the god who is both light and shadow, saviour and deceiver, remembered and forgotten all at once. Azura is one of the Daedric princes, beings of immense power who exist in the realms beyond Nirn in Oblivion. But unlike her kin, the cruel Molag Bal or the deranged Sheogorath, Azura stands apart. She is neither wholly malevolent nor entirely kind. Her sphere of influence is twilight, the moment between day and night, beginnings and endings, truth and illusion. She represents transition, the fragile balance between opposites. To her followers, she is a goddess of prophecy and guidance, a light in the midst of change. To her enemies, she is a deceiver who meddles in mortal lives for her own amusement. Azura's power is poetic rather than brutal. She does not conquer through armies or flame, but through vision and fate. When she speaks in riddles. When she acts, her motives are wrapped in mystery. To worship Azura is to embrace uncertainty, to accept that even light can cast a shadow. Long before Skyrim's icy peaks were scarred by dragons, Azura's name was carved into the red stone of Morrowind. She was the most beloved of the Dunmer gods, worshipped alongside other gods as well. Azura's relationship with the Dunmer is both intimate and tragic. When the Chimmer betrayed their Daedric patrons to follow the tribunal, it was Azura who cursed them, transforming their golden skin into ash and their eyes to fire. It was an act of both punishment and mercy. She made them outcasts, but she also gave them identity. Even after millennia, the Dunmer still whisper her name in secret. Her star shines over these shrines, and her prophecies echo in their history. She is both the mother who blessed them and the god who abandoned them. In Skyrim, that legacy endures. Dunmer refugees still carry her amulets, praying not for salvation but for understanding. To them, Azura is the embodiment of endurance, the light that never quite dies, even when night falls. The first thing most players learn about Azura in Skyrim is her shrine, an awe-inspiring statue of a woman holding aloft a star and a crescent moon, towering above the frozen wilderness between Winterhold and Windhelm. It is one of the most striking landmarks in the entire game, visible for miles, untouched by time or war. Yet despite the grandeur, the temple itself is nearly deserted. Only one of the priestesses remain, Lenith, a Dunmer devoted to Azura's visions. She speaks of a prophecy that a champion will come to serve Azura, to reclaim her lost artifact, and to restore her honour. That champion is, of course, the Dragonborn. But what makes this encounter so fascinating is how subdued it feels. There is no grand Daedric battle, no demonic spectacle, only quiet reverence and the weight of destiny. Azura's shrine is not a place of worship, it is a monument to endurance. Even as her followers vanish and her influence fades, she remains unyielding, a frozen god in a frozen land. The heart of Azura's story in Skyrim lies in one of the game's most compelling quests, the Black Star. A wizard named Nelacar, once a priest of Azura, has attempted to modify her sacred artifact, Azura's star, a soul gem that never breaks. His goal, to make it capable of holding human souls, an act Azura sees as vile corruption. The player must choose between restoring the star to Azura's pure form or siding with Nelacar to create the Black Star, a darker version of the artifact. This moral conflict captures the essence of Azura's curiosity. Is purity always right? Is corruption always wrong? Is Azura truly benevolent, or merely possessive? If you return the star to Azura, she praises you for your faithfulness, but shows her cold indifference by claiming the soul trapped within. If you side with Nelacar, you defy a god but gain a tool of terrible power. No matter what you choose, the outcome feels bittersweet. There is no true victory, only another step into the twilight. And perhaps that's the point. Azura's lesson is that light and darkness must coexist, that morality itself is a spectrum and not a choice. One of the strangest aspects of Azura's existence is her divine classification. She is often called a Daedric prince, but the title of prince implies a hierarchy that doesn't quite fit. Azura is feminine, elegant, and associated with creation, traits that set her apart from her more destructive kin. Many scholars debate whether she is truly Daedric at all. Her actions often seem altruistic by mortal standards. She offers prophecy, protection, and sometimes mercy. Yet she is still Daedra, still alien, still bound by motives no mortal can fully grasp. Azura's paradox is that she embodies the morally grey. She helps mortals, but only when it serves her cosmic purpose. She punishes betrayal, but out of pride, not justice. In her world, morality is as fluid as the dawn she governs. The Nords, ever wary of Daedra, distrust her. To them, she is a foreign spirit, a trickster cloaked in her beauty. They respect her power, but never her presence. To the Dunmer, she is divine punishment and divine grace, wrapped in one. Skyrim is an age of lost gods. The 9 divines are fractured, the Daedric princes are quieter than ever, and the mortals of Tamriel are too busy surviving war to seek enlightenment. In that silence, Azura's presence feels hauntingly absent. She speaks through visions, not armies. Her guidance is subtle, a whisper in the wind, a dream before dawn. Unlike Molag Bal or Maroon's Dagon, she doesn't demand worship through terror. She asks for understanding, which is far rarer. Her restraint is what makes her curious. While the world burns, Azura watches. She sees the coming and going of empires, the rise and fall of mortals, and still she waits. She intervenes only when balance demands it. When the Dragonborn fulfills her quest, She thanks them not with riches or glory, but with prophecy. Twilight returns, and with it, hope. Her blessing is not a power, but perspective. In Skyrim's violent chaos, that is perhaps the rarest gift of all. Azura is also the Prince of Prophecy. Her words echo through Elder Scrolls lore. She foresaw the Tribunal's betrayal, the fall of Morrowind. Her foresight in Skyrim, however, feels muted. Her priestesses speak of visions, but they are small, personal, and not world-shaking. This shift reflects how Skyrim's world has changed. Prophecy is no longer destiny, it's guidance. Azura's role becomes philosophical rather than divine. She teaches that fate is not fixed, that every dusk leads to dawn, and every end is a beginning. Even the Dragonborn's journey mirrors her teaching. A mortal caught between two worlds, man and dragon, destiny and free will. Azura's prophecy is not about control, it's about acceptance. She knows that the only constant in Skyrim is changing, and that embracing it is key to survival. Among the Daedra, Azura stands as a relic of an older, more spiritual age. She is the last remnant of a time where gods spoke through dreams and mortals sought enlightenment rather than conquest. In Skyrim's grim world of politics and war, she feels almost out of place, too beautiful, too distant, and too calm. And yet, her quiet endurance gives her power. While other Daedra rage and scheme, Azura waits. She knows that every age, no matter how dark, eventually meets its dawn. Her temple may crumble, her worshippers may vanish, but her light endures, faint, steady, and eternal. To understand Azura is to accept contradiction, to see that gods, like mortals, are not bound to one nature. Her shrines in Skyrim stands as a monument to that truth, a frozen goddess holding the balance of night and day, reminding all who pass that life itself is twilight, fleeting, fragile, and endlessly shifting.